Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, teachers, principals, anyone who's watching, welcome to the Zach and Sully podcast. I'm Josh Sullivan. I'm in Lee, Massachusetts. I want to thank you for tuning in. This is episode 8. I'm here with Zach Acosta. What's up, Zach?
What's going on, Sul? How you been, man?
Doing well. We're doing well. Zach is over there in Columbus, Ohio, and sorry for taking Monday off. I was at the BeanPot tournament. I was covering that for my primary job. We're going to get to that later in the show. We hope everyone had an awesome Super Bowl Sunday, and we're kind of going to just jump right into this one. First, Zach, best snack you had on Super Bowl Sunday? Go.
I made an awesome buffalo chicken dip, so that was good. The only problem is it costs like $25 to make, and $25 to me is like $3,000 to any other normal human being. So when I woke up the next morning and I had like a low bank account notification, hopefully my dad's watching this, so he's going to get pissed when he sees this. So – But yeah, that was my best snack of the day. Buffalo chicken dip came out fantastic, and yeah, that was it. What about you? What'd you eat?
So I had some buffalo wings as well, but actual wings in wing form, not the dip. They were fantastic. The party I went to, people tossed them into a turkey fryer, rolled them around in buffalo sauce afterwards. And they had homemade blue cheese, which complete game changer. I'm going to be honest. The homemade blue cheese completely blew my mind.
Yeah, that sounds delicious. Oh man, some good homemade stuff. It's always better than the processed crap you get in the supermarket.
Yep, I love going out and getting wings and stuff like that, but there's nothing better than some homemade stuff. So I was pretty happy about that. Also, a lot of pizza. I killed some wings. It was the end of the fourth quarter. Everyone's getting ready to go home, and I noticed that there's 2 party-sized pizzas.
The food was probably the most interesting part of the game, to be honest.
That or Coldplay,
which I'm going to disagree with, but we'll get to that later on. So you want to start talking about the Celtics? You want me to start? You want to go intro this?
Yeah, Zach, you can lead us into it.
Okay, fine. I'll take it. So yeah, Celtics are on a roll. Love it. They're 8-2 in the last 10 games. Besides that ridiculous play by Avery Bradley 2 nights ago in Milwaukee, they could be 9-1 in the last 10, playing in an absolute fantastic stretch here. So yeah, we won it. They won again last night. I would say we won. They won again yesterday. They beat LA 139-134 in overtime. Huge win. And I know all the Clipper fans are like, oh, we didn't have Blake Griffin. Well, guess what? You still had like 4 of the guys in your team that could have done something, and they didn't. And you didn't stop Isaiah Thomas at the end of the game when you needed to. So,
and the Celtics lost Kelly Olynyk.
Oh yeah, that's right. And he's been on fire from 3-point.
Team man bun over there in the NBA. He's just killing it.
But yeah, it's interesting this year too, because I expected the Celtics to not regress. I expected them to get better. I love this team. I love this team. We're like a player, maybe 2 away from. I wouldn't even say a player or 2. We're probably like that X factor guy that we need in the system. That's not like a loudmouth troublemaker who is a diva. None of those fit the requirements. You need to bring a guy in who's going to actually like work and stay committed. You want a role model player. But even then, we're 32. The Celtics are 32-23, and they're only about the 3 games out of second. We're definitely not going to catch Cleveland. We'll just put that out of there, unless a miracle happens and Cleveland stinks it up, which is possible because Kevin Love gets hurt every single game, so you never know what could happen.
He's the fastest player in the NBA.
Yeah, I watched probably 10 seconds of the Cavaliers-Lakers game last night when I was at work, and the 10 seconds I looked over at the television, I saw a guy go up for a layup, and the camera pans right to the NBA alleyway, and there's Kevin Love going jogging in the locker room early. So Cleveland's got that going for them. Like you said earlier a couple weeks ago. Thank God he did not come to Boston.
I love this team too, man. I think it was Marcus Smart that might have said it, but they interviewed him after the game, and he just kind of said, it's a lot of guys who are looked down upon in their career. Everyone on this team has been told at one point or another they weren't good enough, whether it's Sullinger being told that he was too big, too heavy, too fat. Then he loses some pounds, gets back into it, starts lighting it up, shooting 3-pointers. Whether it's Isaiah Thomas told that he's too short, now he's an NBA All-Star. Kelly Olynyk, people telling him that he doesn't have the skill, he doesn't have the it factor. He was averaging like 12 points a game. He's been great. Marcus Smart, man, going up, end of the game, putting up a layup, drawing a foul, and giving you the the guns and just showing off and playing with a lot of his.
The Celtics got lucky with Marcus Smart too, because Marcus Smart, remember, he at Oklahoma State, he punched that fan or got in an altercation, one of the students at Oklahoma State, and he was supposed to be the first pick of the draft that year. Like, he was projected to go first overall, and then that situation happened. His draft stock fell. He ended up staying another year, I think, and then he dropped in the draft to the 6th spot where the Celtics got him, and now he's playing on the Rising Star team this weekend in Toronto. So I'm really excited that he's starting to like pick it up. And I was watching the other day on YouTube. This guy made a video, Marcus Smart Lockdown, and it's like a 9-10 minute video of him playing defense. And holy shit, that guy can play defense. He's great.
Man, I just love it. This team's scrappy. They don't really care what you think. They're going to go out. They're going to play their game. Brad Stevens, he's kind of brought that college mentality where no one player is really bigger than the team, especially how he brought that from Butler, where that was definitely true. You know, they don't get the studs like teams of the ACC or the SEC kind of get. He brought that to Boston, and they're completely riding it out, and I absolutely love it. No one's bigger than the team. There's a lot of talk about bringing Dwight Howard to Boston. I say forget him. I don't want any part of it.
I got my fingers crossed that it does not happen. And the reason why is just like Dwight Howard is a cancer. Wherever he goes, he creates problems. It's either if he's not winning, or he's not providing to the team. It's just something like I would have got excited about it years ago when he was in his prime with the Magic, because like he was a dominant center. But then you see what happened when he went to LA, and now you see what's happening with Houston. And I'm not pinning everything that's gone wrong in Houston on Dwight Howard. Obviously, a lot of it has to do with him, because if you look at the West right now, Houston is sitting in the 9th seed with they are 27-28. That team has Dwight Howard and James Harden on it. They should at least be a little over the edge there, maybe somewhere around Dallas, around probably like 3 or 4 wins better. But 27-28, that's ridiculous. With those all-stars on that team?
I'm not going to blame the Houston Rockets failure on Dwight Howard, because we all know it's Khloe Kardashian's fault because she messed up James Harden. But all things aside, there's something going on there. They're in 9th place right now. They're trying to trade their second best, third best player on the team in Dwight. I think that goes to say something about his character, his leadership quality. We all know it's not really there. And the funniest thing about Dwight is that, back in his prime with the Magic, he was comparing himself to Shaq. And Shaq was like, get out of here, buddy. I don't think so. And people were like, I don't know, Superman. No, not even close.
The thing is, and I just want to talk right back to the Celtics, is they proved that they can compete with anybody in the NBA. And I'm not saying that they're going to go out and like beat like Golden State or San Antonio in the finals if they ever did get there. I'm saying is, yeah, when Golden State came to the Garden, they didn't have Klay Thompson. That game still went to double overtime. They still fought their ass off in the game and like still like made a league, like they let the league know, hey, we're a good team. We came here to play. We got players that can come off the bench and can compete with the starters. So you got a game against Golden State, which was a tough game that they played. They beat Oklahoma City this year in Oklahoma City. They beat Cleveland at Cleveland, right? And I've seen them in the past been able to compete with Atlanta. I'm looking at other teams in here, like Miami obviously could be trouble because Dwayne Wade, yeah, he's getting old, but you never know what could be happening in that kid Whiteside for Miami, the guy who just blocks everything that goes through his way. He could be trouble as well for Boston, but I don't know. Chicago Bulls, they're a disaster right now. Jimmy Butler's out. What?
Jimmy Butler just went out hurt.
Yeah, he's out for a month. Derrick Rose is way too inconsistent. Pau Gasol looks old, and they're looking to sign him for like a $20 million a year deal, which is completely idiotic. I don't know why the Bulls would ever want to do that for a guy like Gasol, who is, I think he's 35 now. He might be a little older than that, but he's getting there. So I think Boston could have a very good chance of playing Cleveland maybe in the semifinals for the East. It's definitely possible.
In the conference finals?
In the conference finals, yeah. I think it's the semis is what it's
I don't see anyone standing in their way. I see, Toronto looks really, really good. But when it gets to playoff time, if this Celtics team stays healthy, I don't even know if they need an X factor, man. Once it comes to playoff time, teams rely on their character. And this team's clearly got a lot of it. And who doesn't is Cleveland. And I'm not going to go out and say that I think the Celtics can go ahead and take Cleveland and beat them and take it to the NBA Finals. But last year, where they got swept and it got worse and worse as the series progressed, that's not going to happen this year. If they lose, it's going to be in 6 games, 7 games. You're going to have dog fights.
There's a lot to prove there. And there's going to be a lot of intensity because you know how the Cleveland fans love Kelly Olynyk. They give him a nice warm welcoming every single time he comes to Quicken Loans Arena. And then you have, like, obviously the Celtic hatred for LeBron would be something to come into Boston to. But I think it was different last year because I feel like we were kind of surprised that they did make it to the playoffs. So it was more of like, the Celtic fans like treated it as a treat. They were like, "Oh, this is cool. We're in the playoffs. Yeah, we're probably not going to win, but hey, I see a lot in this team." And I'm watching the game last night against LA. That was a playoff atmosphere game. That game, because everyone was on their feet in the last like few minutes. Everyone was cheering and screaming, and every time there was a big shot made, the freaking crowd roared like past like old big playoff games at TD Garden. So I'm excited. I think this is going to be good for the Celtics. I think it's going to be good for the league that they're back in it now. And I really would love to see Cleveland or some sort in the Eastern Conference Finals. Would be really cool to see.
Last night was also the return of Paul Pierce to the Garden for what might be the last time in his career. I thought that was pretty cool. Did you happen to see the reenactment of his stabbing by his teammates?
No, I did not.
But yeah, he comes through the tunnel. They announce his name. Paul Pierce, giving the waves. Everyone's cheering for him, going crazy. And then he gets to the bottom of the line, and DeAndre Jordan just comes around and pretends to stab him, and then people just mob him. And he got stabbed back in 2000 when he was on the Celtics, like half a dozen times, and almost had to miss the season, but didn't, and played in all 82 games that year, which is unbelievable.
He's just an absolute warrior, huh? Getting stabbed and then playing the rest of the season. That's ridiculous.
Paul Pierce is a true OG, and he got stabbed for trying to break up a bar fight. That's what happened.
Hey, he's a good dude, He just the truth. All right, so moving on from the Celtics now. We didn't really get to talk about this much because it's been a while since we did this, but yeah, Super Bowl. A lot more of I feel like came out of the post game than actually the game itself. The game was an absolute snore fest. I was bored. Not that every year you can get a Patriots Seahawks classic like we had last year, where the play comes down to the final minute. So yeah, Cam Newton looked absolutely terrible. He was mauled. I said it last week. The only way that Carolina was going to lose that game was if Cam Newton had a meltdown, and it was right. Carolina's defense did not even have a bad game. It was just every time that Denver got the ball, it was because of a turnover from Carolina that put them in the red zone. I really didn't think Peyton Manning did hardly at all to win that game. He did it. He had like 150 yards or something like that.
He didn't do that much, but he did what he had to do, and everyone knew that was going to be the case coming in.
I felt like he had one drive in the opening drive where I felt like he went down the field and like he kind of shook the defense a little bit, but I didn't really feel like it was, Peyton Manning showed up today and he played a fantastic game, and that's the reason why the Denver Broncos won the game. It was like, no, the reason why the Broncos won the game is because that bad dude Von Miller and the other bad dude DeMarcus Ware completely harassed Cam Newton the entire game. He had nowhere to throw. He was under pressure the entire game. I also said this the week before. If it was a close game and they harassed Cam Newton as much as they were going to, the thing is, he's going to get pissed. He's going to get distracted, and when he's not showboating and that gives him motivation and energy, he's going to get discouraged and he's going to foil. And that's exactly what happened. And I was a big fan of Cam this year, but I've seen in the past how he's dealt with like losses. And yeah, he's a brat. He's a sore loser when it comes to losing games. And we're going to get into that in just a second. But, happy for Peyton Manning. It's nice to get his second Super Bowl, but he really didn't do much this year to get it. It was more of Denver's amazing defense.
Yeah, I'm in two minds. I thought Denver's D played unbelievable. I thought Cam was making his offense look good all season, and the second he kind of faltered, the whole offense went with him. We're going to talk about his off-the-field antics. Did you think he should have dove on the football during that fumble?
Absolutely. 100%. I don't know if you read my blog that I put out about it, but this is the last game of the season. People are talking about how they save injuries and like they rest players. What is he resting his body for? What is he waiting for? You wait all goddamn year to get to this game, and you're gonna tell the press that you didn't dive on the ball because you didn't want to risk injury? Then don't play the game.
I'm in two minds, and part of me thinks 100% he should have dove for it, especially the way he is. You know, he's 6'5", he's like 260 pounds. He's a big guy. He can handle a beating. I don't think I want Tom Brady diving on that football though.
In the Super Bowl, you're kidding me, right?
There is no, so to say Tom Brady gets hurt, you have to put Jimmy G in. That slim chance you have of coming back, you have no shot. Okay.
So you're going to take the chance of putting your backup quarter in when the offense is on the field, rather than Denver getting the ball. Sully, remind you, there was 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and the Panthers were only down by 6 points. He dives in that football. They potentially get the ball back, and then who knows? Maybe they can get something to go out on the field. But you're gonna make an excuse and say, I'm not gonna risk injury, so the other team can get the ball, and then they can get placed. They get the ball on the 10-yard line. They got the ball into the end zone 2 plays later.
Yeah, no. Look, I'm in two minds. I really am. I think if I'm out there on the field, I dive for the football no matter what. But I'm not a quarterback, and my team is not relying on my being in the game to get on that ball. I don't know. I think the way he reacted after the game made him kind of soft. Yeah, absolutely. When I look at that play, I see, who was it? Was it his center? His center was diving for the ball. Miller was diving for the ball, and it was kind of bumping around anyway. I could see his mindset where he might have been like, I might let it fumble around and I can pick it up and do something with it. I don't know. I'm not going to second guess this too much. All I know is that every time Tom Brady leaves the pocket, I hold my breath. So if it were up to me, Tom Brady jumping after a fumble, I don't know. I don't know if I'd want him doing it.
I do. You're the quarterback. We want you in the goddamn Super Bowl. We want to win the Super Bowl. You're going to dive on that football to give our team another chance. You're not going to give up because you've had a crappy game and you're feeling sorry for yourself, so you don't want to jump on the football and risk injury. And we have this talk all the time. We rest players in Week 16 and Week 17 for what? The playoffs. And what do we do when we fight in the playoffs? We fight to get to the Super Bowl. And then when we're in the Super Bowl, I want my team fighting out there and diving for every single play. And just because Cam Newton is feeling sorry for himself, and just because he's sad because things aren't going the way it is, and because he hasn't been able to go dab in the end zone and do all this fancy mumbo-jumbo dancing around with the defense when they score touchdowns, doesn't mean you can feel sorry for yourself and be like, oh, well, I'm not going to jump on the ball because I'm going to risk injury. It's the freaking Super Bowl. You never know if you're going to get back there. He's going to be watching that play, who knows, maybe in the next 7 years. What if Carolina doesn't get back to the Super Bowl?
And then he's going to regret that one play for the rest of his life.
The rest of his life.
Yeah.
That's why you jump in that ball.
So what about his antics after the game? What do you think about that?
Well, his antics after the game didn't really surprise me because the way he acted during the game was exactly what I expected the way it was going to be. Like, he was a sore loser the entire game. Him not jumping on the football, like I just said, was another reason why he was things weren't going his way. So things weren't going his way, so he pouted his way all the way to the locker room. And I had heard that he got up and left the interview because – so apparently, I guess both teams are in the same room.
Yep.
I don't know why the NFL decided to do that. That's ridiculous. That's the biggest game of the year. Those two teams should definitely have separate locker rooms, one for celebrating, the other one so they can go cry in the locker room after they lost. So, but so I guess Chris Harris, the cornerback from the Denver Broncos, he was like bragging about how their what's the word for it? Their plan, I guess, or their plan worked perfection. Their game plan worked perfection, and Cam got pissed and walked out because Chris Harris said that. It's like, dude, their game plan worked. You lost the game. You showboated all year. You danced on everyone's faces. You threw dirt in people's faces when you were up by 4 touchdowns. You ran out on the field against Arizona when the defense scored a touchdown when you were up 45-17. Carson Palmer went and answered questions about how he got his ass kicked. Now that you lost, you get on the podium and you answer freaking questions and stop being a baby. That's the stuff that drives me crazy. He wants to act like a showboater all year. He wants to dab, and I said that's no problem with it. If he's doing well and that's the way he wants to play his game, that's okay. But if you're going to do that and start getting in people's faces and rubbing it and just saying, oh, yeah, well, we're up like 4 scores on you. You suck, dude. Then that's a problem when you don't want to answer questions after you lose. That's not being a sore loser. That's a sore yeah, I guess it is being a sore loser. But I think that there's something worse than way he acted than a sore loser.
Yeah, I mean, look, they say speak softly, carry a big stick. When Tom Brady goes out there, what does he do? He gets amped up. He gives a little fist bump. He jumps up and down. He's real excited. He starts giving high fives. He doesn't have all this bullshit that's dabbing and pantomimed. And great, that's fun. I think that's great. But maybe that was an extra 20 minutes out of your day. You should have started focusing on the defense. I don't know.
Von Miller said it best. Wasn't he the one who said Carolina, the Panthers wanted to be superstars and the Broncos wanted to be champions?
I didn't know he said that, but that's right. You're probably
Someone
right.
on the Denver defense said that. I think it was Von Miller. And he had every right to say that. That's the way it was.
But the thing
I'm not saying showboating and dancing and dabbing all year was the reason why Carolina lost. Carolina lost is because the Denver defense was a lot better than Carolina expected. And yeah, Carolina was probably better on offense the whole year, but the Denver defense completely took over the game, and that was the reason why they got inside Cam's head. Their game plan worked to perfection, and that's the reason why they're getting rings this year.
Everybody always says this, and it doesn't matter what sport. Defense wins championships, and when you go towards baseball, it's pitching wins championships. And that has never been proven more, I think, in almost any sport. I mean, you go back to the Bears in 75.
Defense and pitching every single time wins championships, 100%.
Yep.
It does.
Chicago Blackhawks. Yeah, do they have guys who are real fancy like Patty Kane and Jonathan Tays? Yes. But do they start with a strong D-core? Yes, every single time. From the goaltender up, they build up, and that's how they win.
The 2011 Green Bay Packers, 15-1, the highest scoring offense in the NFL. They were wrecking everybody on the field. What was the problem? Their defense was ranked 32nd in the NFL, the first team in NFL history to finish first in offense and last in defense. And what happened? They got to the playoffs. They played a Giants team with a good defense, and they lost in the first round. Defense wins championships. Don't care who your quarterback is. You got a pass rush that the offensive line can't contain. You are screwed. I don't care who your quarterback is.
Yep, and this isn't knocking the Carolina defense too much. They played well, but that's another thing too. Okay, Luke Kuechly, Josh Norman, they got their butts kicked all game. They were out there, and they still went out and answered questions after the game. And Josh Norman is as much of a trash talker as Cam Newton is. I don't know. Kuechly might be too. I really don't know, but Norman absolutely is. The stuff with OBJ, he absolutely is. And you know what? He's still a man enough to get out there and admit, yeah, we didn't bring it. Their defense played better than us. We simply got beat. 3 minutes.
Cam didn't want to. He didn't want to even admit that at the press conference either. So I don't know. He's got a lot of maturing to do. One last quick thing before we move on. Aqib Talib, how do you feel about that face mask on Ted Ginn? I think he should get suspended.
Suspended?
Yeah, he came out forcefully and admitted that it was he did not accidentally do it. He purposely grabbed Ginn's face mask aggressively. And I guess the new rules that the NFL is supposed to be proposing for next season, he would have got ejected from the game.
Yeah, 2 personal fouls and you're out. That's what Roger Bell wants.
He suspended for 2 games.
So I don't know, man. I don't really have an opinion either way to be honest.
I think he should get suspended. I don't. That's not tolerated. I'm all for tough play. I'm all for defenses roughing people up. But once you cross that line where you're gonna start physically hurting the other team on purpose, I mean that's when you cross the line. So, all right. So Sully, you want to talk to us a little bit more about your night at the BeanPot?
Yeah. So I had to make the trek from Western Mass, which is on a normal day from Western Mass to the Garden. It takes about 2 hours. And I decided to go in the middle of a blizzard. So once I got that taken care of, the consolation game is first. That was between Harvard and Northeastern. It was really a crappy game. Harvard didn't show up. It's plain and simple. Northeastern was all over them. But I show up. I get my press pass. I walk in. I'm not there for 5 minutes. And I walk past Andy Brickley, the Nesson play-by-play, or a color commentator guy, and UNH alumni. He's a hockey All-American. And I'm just like, oh, I'm at the big show, boys. Here I am.
You saw Cam Newton too, right?
Yep, I'm waiting for the elevator about 5 minutes later, and I'm down on my phone. I'm looking on Twitter, and I look up, and who's right next to me is Cam Neely, and I'm like, oh, damn. So I'm like, hey, Cam, how's that? It's snowing out, huh?
Starstruck, absolutely stutters.
And I don't know. I talked to him for a little while, and nothing crazy. Just he's like, oh, I don't know, is it snowing out there still? I've been inside all day. Like, of course you have. You're probably working out some crazy deal. But Boston College takes down Boston University in overtime. Really good game. It was a really weird game too. There's a blackout. The Garden lost power for about half an hour in the middle of the first period. That wasn't going according to plan. So they they lose power. They get it taken care of. They come back and they play the rest of the the first period. They play another 9 minutes. No goals scored. Sean McGuire, the BU goalie, stops 41 pucks. Played out of his mind. That game easily could have been 3-1 BC. BC came out of the game, or BU came out of the game, had like 14 shots on net in the first period before the blackout. So in the first half of that period, unbelievable game both ways. Jerry York now is the only owns the most BeanPot victories of all time, I believe. I think that was the stat they gave us after the game. That's one of the last records he has to break in college hockey. He's broken just about every other one of them. Alex Tuck scoring the game winner in overtime, getting the puck on his stick, hesitating a little, drawing the screen. Two guys go in front of McGuire as they're coming back out this end. Tuck puts it right in the middle, beats him right side, low right side, and BU takes it home, or BC takes it home, I should say, which I'm pretty happy about because as a UNH guy, I'm not really that fond of BU.
Yeah, it's weird because I know like those are the two like cream of the crop when it comes to hockey. I feel like correct me if I'm wrong. I felt like BU has taken more of them the last few years. Is that true?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I'd have to look that up.
I felt that's why I can't remember if it was BU or BC, one or the other. But I tend to just be I tend to side with BC. Don't really know why. I don't know. I don't really care for BU, I guess. But it's still a cool game. I can't say I'm consistently like persistent with like watching the BeanPot, but like obviously like it's one of those games in Boston that's just like a yearly thing. It's tradition, so it's really cool to see like what happens. And you being at the game, reporting it, and of course whenever you get to meet Cam Neely or Andy Brickley, it's a pretty cool experience.
I will say the best part, I had my first like big boy arena food experience, and the food there was phenomenal. They gave prime rib, filet mignon.
What's the thing with prime rib lately? I've been seeing prime rib everywhere. Everyone's been talking about prime rib. I even had Garrett's dad cooked it for Christmas Day dinner. Prime rib.
I don't know, but it was fantastic. I mean, it's the best I'm going to eat for weeks. I probably won't eat that good for another 3 months. But it was real cool. It was also pretty weird, man. I mean, you know, I'm starting out in the sports media world. You know, I follow a lot of guys on Twitter. I get the opportunity to meet some of these guys, and some guys I'm you know, maybe friendly with in person. Andy Merritt, writer for the New England Hockey Journal, he covers the Bruins. I happened to meet him once before, and I sat down next to him. That was pretty cool. But there's a lot of guys too that I know I'm friends with on Twitter, and I follow them, and I had no idea what they looked like in person. The Cox brothers, Jeff and Zach, they're both UNH grads. They both follow me on Twitter. I follow them. And I was in the same room as me. It was like being in a room full of people I follow on Twitter but have never actually met.
That is so weird. Hey, what's going on? Hey, I never met you before, but I think I follow you on Twitter.
That's exactly what it was. Luckily for me, a couple of kids from BU that I met covering college hockey last year while I was at UNH, they were there, so I knew some other people. Butch Stearns, who used to be on WEI, I sat next to him the entire game. I didn't recognize him until he came up to me at the end and introduced me to him. And Steve Buckley, the Boston Herald writer, who I love. I love his work. He's a big guy in the Sox. He's a columnist. I read his work like every single week. He was there, and I didn't recognize him. I just heard his voice, and I was like, I know I've heard that voice from somewhere. And it clicked with me finally. It was a pretty cool experience, but it was definitely very weird. Just knowing after like talking to people or like bumping into people in the bathroom and being like, "Oh, I tweeted at you last week." Like,
but that's awesome, man. I'm glad the BeanPot experience is cool. And like you heard it then. Sully spent the day of the BeanPot. BC won in overtime, 1-0. So Well, all right. You want to get into final thought here? You got anything for final thoughts?
Yeah, final thoughts. The Bruins got smoked by.
I was hoping that you wouldn't bring it up, but you did anyways. I'm really just trying to forget about this game.
I'll touch upon it real quick. I was offered 3 tickets to the game to sit in the Ray Bork suite, and I couldn't go. And I've never been happier, in retrospect, to turn down a game.
You would have been in a suite for that game?
Yeah, it would have been the Ray Bork.
Oh my god, dude, that would have sucked. I didn't even watch the game. I was at work, and then Jorge texted me. He was like, "Yo, I don't even know what to say if this is a loss or not. They lost 9-2." I was like, "I'm like, dude, no way you got that right. Like, no way." They lost 9-2. Nine different King players scored a goal.
Oh yeah, Lucic had an assist.
Right. Yeah, and then I praised any of the Bruins fans that like stood around after the debacle just to cheer Lucic as he like came out at the end. Props to those people.
Yeah, they're the real fans. They're dedicated. Also, another thing, Celtics fans don't get enough credit. They're legit. They're probably one of the best sports fan bases in all of sports. And
yeah, dude, best in basketball. Duh.
I put Bruins fans up there. I mean, obviously I'm a Celtics fan, but I mean the Celtics fans.
Oh, we're completely biased, but it's okay.
But I mean the guys who go, season ticket holders, the guys who go to every game. Doc Rivers was talking about a game against the I think it was the Cavs or maybe it was the Heat when the Celtics lost, and it was the last
Miami Heat game, and he was talking about the last game where the big three and Rondo were going to be together.
Yep, that's exactly it. And people were saying they were getting smoked. And they didn't care. They knew it was the end of the era. They just wanted to be a part of it. And they stayed and gave a standing ovation at the end. That's unreal.
Yeah, it is. That was a great team, and obviously they stand up and applaud them for everything they accomplished in those years. Was really cool. All right, are you all set with final thoughts? You want me to get on mine?
Talk to me.
All right, I got 2 final thoughts here. All right, so. My first final thought is this. So I mentioned a couple podcasts ago that Dirty Grandpa was the movie that used to appear on my Hulu commercial breaks. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? There's a movie out now that is just as shitty. It's going to be a bad one, and it's been on my Hulu advertisement break, and it's called London Has Fallen, starring Morgan Freeman and Gerald Butler. Yes, 2 great actors. It's going to be a terrible movie. And I tweeted this the other night. I have a great skill of knowing how shitty a movie is going to be within the first 15 seconds of the trailer. And I also have developed another skill and realized that when I have a Hulu account, any movie that is on that commercial break is going to suck. That's a fact.
Zach's putting that on his resume. Have a special sense. Can notice when movies are going to suck in the first 15 seconds of trailers.
That new Warcraft movie, the new movie about World of Warcraft, that movie's going to be terrible too. I could tell. It is such a generic like opening. Oh, why'd you come here? To save our people. Yep, done. It's going to suck. Know it already. I know it's not going to be good. I'm right most of the time. So I'll wrap up that one. My second one is this. I've been following the ongoing feud between Jim Harbaugh and the SEC.
I've been following. Following.
I'm siding with Harbaugh on this one. Me as an Ohio State student, soon to be alum.
Harbaugh?
I've been saying this for a while. The SEC are the biggest babies on the planet. So Harbaugh wants to have Michigan practice in Florida during spring break week, and now they're like Florida people. Oh, they basically came out and said, you can't do that. You guys are you're not around from here. Well, if you're going to do that, then we're going to do it too. So it's like they're telling him that he can't do it, but as soon as he does, which he probably will, they're going to start practicing as well with their players. This is the thing I have with the SEC. They complain so much about like the us going like down there to practice and stuff, like the Big Ten, and then they get mad when like they're like, oh yeah, well you never want to schedule anything with us. I'm like, dude, like we don't want to schedule anything with you. It's because you want to play all the games in the South. They don't want to play any games up north. And if they do, they want to get out on a freaking neutral field in Texas. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Texas A&M. I'm not stupid. When you pick that 2-year thing with Arizona State, you're like, let's have it on a neutral field in Houston. Yeah, 45 minutes away from campus. That way everyone from Arizona State's going to fly all the way over to Houston to watch the game. And then there was another one they played at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. They had like 9 home games this year and like 3 road games. 3 games outside the state of Texas this year. Texas A&M. SEC for you. That's all I got to say about that. I hope Jim Harbaugh runs it down their throat, and I hope we murder the SEC again. So that's my final thought. Have a nice day, ladies and gentlemen.
Later.